Welcome back to another episode of Whole, Healed, and Healthy. Um, I hope that your week has been great. Your last couple weeks have been great. We did not have an episode last week because I took an impromptu break. When life starts to life, you just have to pivot and be flexible with life. It's gonna happen to all of us. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Man, we gonna hop right in. I ain't gonna waste a lot of time today. Welcome to the conversation. That's it. Welcome to the conversation. You probably saying, yo, we always have a conversation. This is a conversation. You're absolutely right. But I'm just trying different things. And with what I'm calling the conversation is that I've always wanted a way to talk about like pop culture, current events, faith culture, what's happening in these church streets. I wanted to mix in politics, and I wanted to do it in a lighthearted way to where it wasn't as heavy as some of the episodes that we have and that we may have. Because healing, man, we know that healing is work. And in that healing, you got to find time to be lighthearted. You got to find time to laugh. You got to find time to joke. So I just wanted to create something, another safe space for us to, talk about those things, current events, pop culture, and do it in a way that's not always heavy. So welcome to the conversation. What's today's conversation? Today's conversation is about confidence and arrogance. The difference between being confident and the difference between being arrogant, and why are people so intimidated by people who are confident? It does not matter. It does not matter what you say or what you do. It just seems like somebody is always going to have something to say. Every day I tell myself I'm not going to watch First Take. And every day I'm tuned in. And every day I hear something that makes me scratch my head. Like, what are y'all talking about? So a lot of the conversation lately has been surrounding Shado Sanders. We know Shado, Deion Sanders' son, quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So I'm watching ESPN, and all the discussion has been around about what he should and shouldn't be doing as a quarterback in the NFL. And the crazy part, like, none of it has anything to do about his play on the field. And it's head scratching because you got people who are giving like full college dissertations about what the man should and should not be doing, and it has nothing to do with his play on the field, right? So I'm watching, I'm listening, and you got one person who's on there talking about, he's running his mouth too much. He needs to sit in the front row and study. Then you got another guy who says that, he needs to just be himself. And literally in the exact same segment, you have another guy who says, well, he can't be himself. I'm thinking like, what the heck do y'all want him to do? If he talks, they criticize him, right? If he talks, they say he's talking too much. If he's quiet, they criticize him because they're saying like he's not a team guy. He needs to be speaking up and standing up for his teammates, right? So he can't be himself because they're going to criticize that too. And then when he's the person that they want him to be, they're going to say he's not genuine. So it's like, danged if he do, danged if he don't. I know some people are going to say the cuss word. I don't cuss. But it's like, danged if he do and danged if he don't. Like, he really can't even blink, because if he blink, they're going to say he blinking too loud. So it's not just Shador, right? We're just seeing this play out publicly. So I don't want to make this conversation just about him, right? But I think that these things happen to a lot of us every single day. No matter what we say, no matter what you do, sometimes it's never enough. And then sometimes it's always too much. It's like people will always find a reason to say something about what you're doing in life. You set boundaries. People say you acting funny. They say you changing. Oh, you changing, bro. You ain't the same. You're right. I'm not the same. I'm setting boundaries, right? So you begin to speak up for yourself. Then people start to say that you're angry and defensive. And I'm like, bro, like, I can't have a voice. I can't speak up. I can't advocate for myself. Then if you stay silent, people just say that you don't care. It is always a lose-lose situation with some people. It doesn't matter what you do. It's not enough. And then when you do something, it's too much. We tell people, just be yourself. And then in the moment that someone actually does that, somebody has something to say about that. It's crazy. Like, we say that we love confidence until that confidence challenges our comfort, right? When it makes us uncomfortable, we don't like it. And I've seen this play out in church. I've seen it play out in work. I've seen it play out in relationships. I've seen it play out in friendships. Man, it happens everywhere. It's not just a one-off. It's not just because these people are famous, and it's not just because they have a platform, but these things happen in spaces where people will never see it. And I'm here to advocate for you, because I'm advocating for myself, because your voice matters and so does mine. My space has been the church space, but these scenarios, they happen everywhere. It's like church folks, they love the idea of somebody with bold faith. People love the idea of strong men and women. People love the idea of strong leaders, but they only love it when it looks like something that they approve of, right? They only love these people. They only love strong faith. They only love strong men and women. They only love bold people. They only love strong leaders when those people look like what they approve of, when they look like what they want them to look like. People say that they love strength. People say that they want to be strong. We love strong people. But I don't think that we like what it requires of us, because sometimes the strength in others exposes the weaknesses in our own lives, right? Sometimes the strength of another person, it exposes, our weaknesses. And so we say that we want strong people around us, or we want to be in spaces where we have people who are confident and bold. But the moment that those people begin to walk and move in that confidence, in that boldness, sometimes it starts to expose the weaknesses in our own lives. And then we got to find something to say about them. We got to find a space to put them in. Something that I've been learning is that confidence without explanation looks like arrogance to people who are insecure. Listen, I'm going to say that one more time because I kind of got tongue tied. But listen, I said confidence without explanation, without you explaining yourself. When you're confident and you don't explain yourself, that looks like arrogance to people who are insecure, right? To people who are around you who are not secure in themselves, your confidence can look like arrogance. When you know who you are, when you know who you are, when you're secure in that, people who are unsure and insecure in themselves, they have to label you as something. They have to find a label to put on you to make themselves feel better. They'll always find a label for people. They'll find a label for you. People will always try to label what they don't understand. I think that's like an ongoing statement or sentiment that I have, because I said that people will always try to demonize things that they don't understand. And I feel like people will always label things that they don't understand because it just makes them feel better. Yeah, all right. It just makes them feel better. And we can see this playing out with Shado, a confident young black man who's not ashamed of who he is. He's not ashamed of where he came from. He's not ashamed of his family. He's not ashamed of who his dad was, because his dad instilled so much confidence in him. His dad taught him to hold his head up high, to walk in a room and own the room, to be confident in who you are. And so because of that, he does not fit the narrative of a lot of people, right? He doesn't fit the box of humility that they want him to fit in. So they call it prideful and they call it arrogant. I think we can see this happen in our own lives, that when we don't fit into people's boxes, when we don't fit into people's narratives, they'll take that and they'll call that arrogance. They'll call it pride. They'll say that we're conceited, that we're stuck up because we don't fit in what they want us to fit in. We're not humble enough for them. We don't walk in enough humility. And, I think that we have to be able to say, hey, like, I'm confident in who I am. My confidence is not arrogance. My confidence is not pride. My confidence is just, I'm confident in that. I know who I am. I understand who I am. I understand where I come from. And I'm okay with that. And I walk proudly in that, not in a pride that's boastful, but in a pride to say, hey, I love who I am, right? I love who I am. I love it. We don't fit into boxes that people want us to fit in. So they'll find any and everything to say about us. And it's really sad because so many people have so many great gifts. They have so many great talents. They have so much to offer. And because people are afraid and people have their own insecurities, that they never allow those gifts to flourish. They never allow those people to flourish. Nothing scares an insecure person more than someone who knows who they are, someone who knows their worth, someone who knows, what they bring to the table, and when you know that people can't shortchange you, they can't play in your face, as we like to say, they can't play you when you know who you are, when you know your worth, when you know what you stand for. And that's what we see playing out with our guy, is that he knows who he is. He understands who he is, and he's not going to allow anybody to play in his face. I'm not going to allow anybody to play in my face because I'm learning who I am, and I'm being so much more confident in that. So, and honestly, the conversation around confidence, it really got me thinking. It got me thinking about something deeper. Lately I've been leaning into who I am as a person and how God sees me and how I see God. Man, y'all know I'm on this journey of self-discovery. I think we all are on journeys of self-discovery, of finding out who we really are, of letting go of harmful things and harmful theologies and harmful teachings and all that, and really learning, who God is to us and how God works and operates in our life. And one thing that I've been focusing on is being proud to be Black, right? Man, I've really been trying to understand and learn who we were as a people before colonized Christianity. I said I wasn't gonna get deep, and this is supposed to be lighthearted, but it is. We ain't gonna dive too far into that. I'm proud to be Black. Like, that's number one. Like, I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud to be Black. And second of all, I'm learning about who we were before colonized Christianity. And so when I say learning how I view God, I'm learning how to see him away from the lens of colonized Christianity and things that were presented to me in a way that was harmful, right? So I'm really trying to view God away from all the religious trauma that I've been a part of, right? I'm not going down that road today, but I just want to just kind of paint a picture. So the other day, the other day, I posted something on Threads. I made a thread, right? And this is exactly what I said. I said, I was once drunk under the delusion that I'm Christian before I'm Black. I used to say back in 2018, don't be so pro-Black that you become anti-Christ. Even then when I used to say that, like, it just never sat well with me. It never sat with me. But to fit in the spaces that I was in, I just went along to get along. And so I went on to say that, I'm glad that I left that cult. All right. That was my thread. That was my thought of the day. Had a few people hop in the comments on the thread. Somebody said, sad to hear you ran back to the cult that idolizes your color and forgets your true identity in Christ. Okay, it's interesting. Somebody else said, I'm proud to be a cult member. The skin I'm in can't save me or myself from this world. And I'm just thinking, like, first of all, number one, I was born Black. I was born Black. First of all. Second of all, I can choose to be or I can choose not to be a Christian, but I don't have a choice but to be Black. So yes, I am Black before I am a Christian. I'm Black before I'm Buddhist. If I want to be a Buddhist, I'm Black before I'm a Muslim. If I want to be a Muslim, I'm Black before I'm a Hindu. If I want to be a Hindu, what am I saying? My identity, I can't escape being Black. I can't choose to wake up tomorrow and be white or Hispanic or Italian or any other race. I can only be black. So yes, I'm always black before anything. But why does that bother people so much? Why does it bother people that I say that I'm black before I'm a Christian? Why does that bother people? It's not a question that you have to answer. It's a rhetorical question because I already know the answer, But why does me finding my true identity in who God made me to be, why does that bother people so much? Like, why is it an issue that I want to identify with my blackness before I identify with a religion that I can choose? Because tomorrow I can wake up and pick any religion in this world. Tomorrow I can wake up and say, I don't even want to have a religion. I don't identify with any of that. I'll never be able to say I don't identify with being black because I'll always be black. That's who I am. That's how God made me. So why does it bother people that I choose to identify in the skin that God made me? But I said all that to say, stop trying to make people comfortable with your calling. Stop trying to make people comfortable with who you are. Listen, I'm an over-explainer. So when I started this journey and when I started this podcast and when I started, deconstructing, I was always finding myself over-explaining, why I was doing what I was doing and why I didn't identify or believe certain things anymore and why. I'm an over-explainer. But this is something that I'm learning, man. I just thank God for freedom. I thank God for healing. I thank God for walking through this process. I thank God that I'm able to really have a clear and sober mind about the things that I choose to do and what I choose to believe and how I choose to believe. So I'm saying all that to say is that stop trying to make people comfortable in your calling. And I'm talking to me. You don't have to explain your life to people just because they're intimidated by your confidence. It's like one thing that I noticed, that the moment that I really begin to search out and lean into my black heritage, I begin to get people to question well, what do you believe in? That, some of the stuff that they did in Africa, that's witchcraft and this and that. And I'm like, why does it bother you that I'm choosing to really find out who I am? Because I want to know who I am. I want to be confident in how God made me. I want to be confident in who God made me to be. So why does it bother you when I start to lean into things that you may not understand? Why does it bother you because I'm being more confident in my blackness? Why does it bother you that I'm being more confident in my heritage? Are you intimidated? Are you upset that you can't be free? Do you want to do this, but you're afraid to lose the community that you have? Are you afraid to be ostracized? Hey, I'm just asking the question. These are just questions that I ask because these are things that I had to ask myself. Are you willing to give up your community? Are you willing to have people question your every move? Are you willing to go through the scrutiny and to go through the thoughts of how people see you? Are you willing? And at a point, it became, I don't care anymore because my freedom is more important than what you feel about me, than what you think about me. You're not arrogant because you believe in and you use what God gave you. Use it. Use it, man. Use it for real. So as we come to a close in this conversation, this is my segment. This is the church boy in me. We're going to have a little altar call. We're going to open up the altar, right? But listen, all jokes aside, man, this segment, I want to just talk to the people who are just like me, the people who were like me, the people who are like me, the people who can identify with a lot of the things that we talked about today. The ones who were people pleasers, the ones who over explain themselves. Man, listen, you don't owe anybody an explanation. Something that I've learned is that you will never be good enough for some people. You will never be good enough for some people. You will either A, not be enough, or B, you're going to do too much for some people. So you don't need everybody to clap for you. I'm talking to me right now, man. Mel, you don't need everybody to clap for you. You just need to know that you're walking in your purpose. And that's real. Not just for me, but for everybody out there. You need to know that you're walking in your purpose, man. Listen, I'm gonna leave you with this and then we out. I will never shrink my gifts and talents to make those around me feel more comfortable. Man, if the light from my growth starts to shine on the shadows of what's hidden in your heart, you got to take that over God, not me. Man, I love y'all. Be whole, be healed, and be healthy. I'll see you next time.